الحمد لله رب العالمين يا رب. اللهم اجعل أول هذا النهار صلاحا، وأوسطه فلاحا، وآخره نجاحا. اللهم بلغنا مما يرضيك أعمالنا، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله. سيدي أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، صل عليك الله يعلم الهدى. وأشهد أنك بلغت الرسالة وأديت الأمانة ونصحت الأمة وكشفت الغمة وجاهدت لله حق جهاده. عباد الله، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and respected sisters in Islam, I greet you all with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. All praise is due to Allah. We bear witness and we testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we bear witness and we testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his messenger and his slave. All salawats and salams be upon our Prophet, upon his noble family, his righteous companions, and all those who follow his path till Allah's day. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we hear news every single day, and every single day we put that TV on. Every news is full of sorrow and sadness and fear, and especially these last few months, we can feel that fear even in Muslim community when it comes to what is happening around the world and even in Australia. All the prices are going up. We see the vegetables and fruits and even those mortgages and interest rates and all these kind of things. And this is not only in Australia, but also when I speak with my family overseas. You see the petrol and you see the lifestyle has become so expensive that it's unknown what is going to happen in the future. And we see that even in our youth, and people that have debt and have mortgages, and people that have, that they have families. They have to provide for themselves and their families, and they don't know which way to go. They don't know what's going to happen. And inshallah today we're going to talk about this particular topic. Why khutbah is so important, my dear brothers and sisters? Because khutbahs are all about what is happening on daily and weekly basis. Khutbah is not to learn new about Islam, because if you wait to learn Islam from khutbahs, you will never learn Islam. Khutbahs is to understand what is happening. And Islam, subhanallah, wallahi, understanding Islam and knowing the true meaning of Islam, Islam is always to identify the problems that we have in our community. And not just to identify the problems, but also to find solutions for those problems. And I hear also, a lot of bad news from people and from friends. And by the way, I just was reading this morning, one of my friends that lives in Finland. He's my age, and his son, he went to swim, 16 years of age, and then he drowned for 10 minutes, and he's in coma at the moment, subhanAllah. And you hear people are passing away, and people dealing with a lot of difficulties and trials in life. And every day you hear some sad news, and sometimes it's very hard to cope with those things. And on top of what is happening in Australia with all these crises and everything. And some people are saying to us, "Ya Imam, this is happening to me even though I have tried this, I have tried that, and yet all these things are happening to me." I just want to say one thing to you, my dear brothers and sisters. One hadith of our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, if you're afflicted in any way, if you're tested in any way, do not say, "If I had taken this or that step." If something happens to you and me, and then we think back and we say, "Why I didn't do this? I should have done that. I should have done this." Our Prophet ﷺ, he's telling us that do not think like that. It would have resulted into such and such results if I did this or if I did that. Why our Prophet ﷺ is mentioning this? Because this deals with depression at the same time. If you met people that are depressed, some of the things that they say is, this happened to me because I didn't do this, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. No, as Muslims, we don't think like that. If we are afflicted, if we are tested in any way, it is important to say that Allah has determined and did as He willed. So this was meant to happen to me. Doesn't matter what step I took. This was Allah's will, Allah's decree, Allah's predestination. And as Muslims, we have to embrace all those tests and trials that Allah tests us every single day. Why? And the Prophet ﷺ explained in the end, and he said, the word if I've done this, why I didn't do this, if that, with this, he said, opens the gates of satanic thoughts. Satan, once you start to open that door, why, if I didn't come to Australia, maybe this didn't happen. If I didn't do this, if I didn't book the holiday, if I didn't go here, or if I didn't do that, don't open that door. If something afflicts us, any test, you have to remember that that was Allah's decree, Allah's qadr. And as Muslims, we embrace that. Remember the verse in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah will not test you or me more than you can handle. So if Allah is testing you with something, Allah knows that you're able to handle that test. Otherwise, Allah would never have tested you with that. The test that Allah tested you, maybe Allah didn't test me because Allah knew that maybe I wasn't able to handle that test. And what Allah tests me with, maybe you're not able to handle that trial. If you think that you're facing difficulties in life, maybe the person that is sitting next to you, he's got 10 times more trials and tests in his life, but yet he's able to smile. It is very important, my dear brothers, with our religion, Islam. It's important that whatever comes our way, inshallah, it's good for us. Our Prophet ﷺ said, no fatigue, nor distress, nor anxiety, nor sadness, nor hurt, nor distress befalls a Muslim, even if it were the prick he receives from a thorn. You're doing your gardening and you receive that prick from a thorn, but Allah expiates some of his sins for them. Everything, every test, every trial that we face, if we remain patient and if we accept Allah's decree, everything that we go through, inshallah, is good for us. Why? Because Allah will forgive some of our sins that we have done in the past. My dear brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, and He said, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. He who created death and life, that He may try which of you is best indeed. And He is the exile of the mind. So the death and hayat and maut, so this world and the hereafter and everything is the test for every single one of us, to see who is the best in our actions, in our deeds. Everything is a test. You know, it's easy to know this in theory, and it's more difficult when we face those tests in our lives. Wallahi, it's easy to talk about it, but when those tests befall upon us, it's not easy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, and He said, لِيَحْرِمَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. Allah is going to test you with fear. You know, there's wars happening in different places. Allah is going to test you with life. Allah is going to test you with poverty. And in the end, subhanAllah, Allah mentioned وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. Allah mentioned thamarat in Arabic means fruits. And some scholars explain this word by saying thamarat, fruits, in other meaning is what? Your children. Allah is going to test you with your children as well. And is one of the, or I could say, may Allah not test any of us, that there's no bigger test than this. There's no bigger test than for a father or a mother to bury their own children. And that's why even the reward is one of the biggest in Islam. The reward is one of the biggest in Islam, because if those parents remain patient, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you know the Hadith Qudsi, will build a palace for those parents in paradise. And this palace will be called for those people who praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though Allah has tested them with that massive, massive trial. The positive side of our problems, my dear brothers and sisters, it is important that whatever happens to us, it's important that inshallah, and we know this for a fact, that nothing happens to a Muslim except that is good for him. And our Prophet ﷺ, he told us, and he said, how wonderful is the case of a believer. There is good for him in everything, and this applies only to a believer, those people that believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If prosperity attends him, he expresses gratitude. Good things happen to us, we don't forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what we do, we say Alhamdulillah. Every single morning we wake up, we say Alhamdulillah. Not only when something happens to us, we say, oh Allah, how about till yesterday? How about till yesterday when nothing bad happened to you? Did you think of Allah? Did you remember Allah? Only believers do such thing, my dear brothers and sisters. And he said, and if a trial, adversity befalls him, he endures it patiently, and that is good for him as well. This is very important. When a test comes to us, don't open that door to say, oh Allah, why? Or if, why me? You know, I pray 5 daily prayers. You know, I'm an imam. All I do is serve your cause. You know, my neighbor, all he does is drinks and gambles and does this and does that. How come you didn't test him but me? Once you open that door, so you are not considered among these believers that Prophet ﷺ is mentioned. Believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that accept and they know that whatever has happened to them is for a reason, and inshallah it's good for them. Even this price raising in Australia, you know this, and I can tell you, I was going the other day to buy some fruits. Imagine this, those golden kiwis from Tasmania, it was $7.90 something cents. One fruit. And I said to Allah and to myself, I said, SubhanAllah, till yesterday we were buying those fruits and vegetables. We don't even think that you know how much it's costing. Were we grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? Maybe it's expensive to us. How about those people that don't have even money to buy, even if it's cheap? And you know how many brothers and sisters are in that situation for so many years? This is happening to us as a wake-up call. As a wake-up call for us Muslims to say, hey, you live in Australia, I have sent you there. But this is to wake you up if you were not grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until now. All these prices are, you know, petrol price and all these things that are happening. Do not fear, my dear brothers and sisters. Why? Because risk, provision is in Allah's hands. Doesn't matter what happens to me or you, you will not die until you complete what Allah has decreed for you. And you will not hear more or less except what Allah has decided for you. Do not trouble yourself to think during the night what I'm going to do if I lose my job. What I'm going to do if this becomes very expensive. What I'm going to do if this happens, that happens. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try our best. We have to try our best. We have to work hard. And there's no such thing as a bad job. Any job that you do and you're able to provide for yourself and your family members in an honorable way, you should be proud of that job. Be proud of that job and do that job with pride. Why? Because you're doing it for yourself so you can feed yourself and your family with halal. This is very important. And once you do that, inshallah, those doors of risk, of provision, Allah will open for you and me. But number one is we have to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know the code that Allah said? What did He say? وَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you're grateful, Allah will increase it for you. But we are not grateful. Wallahi, we are not grateful. Go and check tonight. Every time we sit for dinner, for lunch, for breakfast, how many dishes are in front of us? How much food we eat? Only 10, 20%. 80% of that food, where does it go? It goes to bin. Wallahi, I am among those people. And I'm not saying this, but it's embarrassing to say. You know, even those rubbish bins, we have to push them down because it's not enough space. SubhanAllah. And we don't think of those people who are less fortunate, or brothers and sisters that are suffering every single day. And if we don't think, those things will come to us. Who would have thought in Australia these things would happen? No one. But Allah can change things in the split of a second. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we're always grateful to Allah ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if Allah is testing us with any trial, any test, we'll bear those tests with patience ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah to make us of those that we are able to feed ourselves and our families with halal and to stay away from haram ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we love, we respect one another only for His sake. Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not test us with something that we're not able to handle. Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we are able to benefit one another. Ya Rabbil Alameen. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. سيستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور.